इस वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करेंगे द मोस्ट कॉमनली आस्क्ड इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन, टेल मी अबाउट योरसेल्फ. So whether you are applying for any job or going for MBA interviews, this video is going to be very helpful for you. So first of all, let us try to understand why does the interviewer ask you this question. पहले तो ये एक बहुत अच्छा आइस ब्रेकर है because it's a question on yourself, so obviously you are very confident in answering it. And second is it sets the base for the rest of the interview. यानी आप जो भी tell me about yourself आंसर में बोलते हो वो आपकी प्रोफाइल बन जाती है and it's highly probable that the initial set of questions जो interviewer आपसे पूछेगा that will be based on what you have already said in your tell me about yourself answer. So that's why it's very important that you prepare for this particular answer and make sure that आप इसमें वही points include करो which you are confident to talk about because the flow of the interview entirely depends on your answer. एंड इस वीडियो में मैं डिस्कस करने वाला हूँ एक बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर जो आप फॉलो कर सकते हो फॉर टेल मी अबाउट योरसेल्फ आंसर, एंड आई एम ऑल्सो गोइंग टू टेल यू अबाउट माई आंसर दैट आई गिव ड्यूरिंग माई MBA इंटरव्यूज. सो द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर टू आंसर दीज पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चंस आर यू स्टार्ट विद द ग्रीटिंग्स, देन पुट योर बेसिक डिटेल्स एंड देन पुट द एडिशनल डिटेल्स एंड व्हाट एग्जैक्टली कम्स अंडर ईच ऑफ देम. For greetings, suppose you are going for an MBA interview, then you can start with something like thank you sir for the opportunity, or thank you sir, simply thank you sir is also fine. Most of the people forget this kind of greeting while it's not very important, but still it looks good. And suppose you're going for a job interview or something of that sort, then the greetings can be a little bit different. It can simply be hi if the interviewer is someone like a colleague and not very senior, it can simply be like hi, and it can also be something like it's glad to connect with you and glad to have a conversation with you, something along those lines. And if someone is like very senior, and then it can be the same thing again, thank you for the opportunity or something of that sort as well. So you start with this kind of a greeting whether it's an MBA interview or a job interview. After that you will go to the basic details, and what does that basic details include? That will first include your education and your work experience. Education means basic, your schooling details, your undergraduation details and everything, whatever has been your education so far, all the details can be included. And after that you can include, if you are currently working, if you have work experience, then it will include your work experience, the organization and the role that you're working in. And the reason I'm calling it basic details because it's absolutely basic. You do not need to go further in this. We will deep dive in the additional details. In basic details, you just need to mention the name of the institution and what exactly you did there. So to give you an example, if I have to answer this question, my answer would have been, thank you sir for the opportunity. I am Anand Chajar and I did my schooling from MP Birla School in Kolkata. After that I completed my graduation in chemical engineering from Jadavpur University in 2018, and post that I have been working at ZS Associates in the advanced analytics team of a pharmaceutical client. Remember, I am giving this answer for my MBA interview, so I am restricting my timeline till 2018. After that, obviously, I graduated from IIM Ahmedabad. I am not including those in my answer. And that is itself that what you will answer in the basic details. You will just simply mention your organization, your education, and your work experience, and you will restrict it over there. Nothing more, nothing less. So what to include in additional details? Probably the most important things have to be included here. Remember, because it's the last part of your answer, most of your questions after this will revolve around additional details only. That's why what you have to highlight here is probably the projects that you have worked on. If you have work experience, I will highlight the projects that I have worked on over here. I will talk about my strengths in this case. I will talk about my accomplishments and achievements here, and I will also talk about my hobbies. So everything, basically highlighting my strength and including everything that I want to talk about further in the interview. So to give you an example, my answer here was, during my stint at ZS Associates, my work includes deep diving into patient level data to solve very critical business problems for the client. Problems that can include revenue optimization, sales force sizing, or impact measurement of certain promotional techniques, and also developing ML models as and when required. And because of my love for quant modeling and statistics, I have been able to perform really well in my job and receive several awards and appreciation in the first year of job itself. Apart from that, I've won several awards in Olympiads both at state and national level. And in my personal life, I enjoy reading books, I love playing basketball, and I also enjoy watching cricket. So this was my introduction, and I used to add another line at the end of my introduction. You can use it too if you want to. So I used to end it with, so this is my short introduction. Happy to detail any specific point that you would like me to elaborate on. So this what used to do was I wanted them to speak more about my profile, to question me more on my profile. So I used to add this particular line as well. But what you have to notice is the things that I stressed on in my answer, because I wanted the interviewer to ask me questions on that. Clearly you can see the stress was on quant, clearly the stress was on statistics, machine learning models. Then I put out a word about Olympiad achievements as well. So I wanted the interviewer to question me on puzzles, to question me on quant, to question me on numbers, because that was my comfort zone. And then I talked about my hobbies as well, that is cricket, basketball, and then about reading books, and I was well prepared for all three of them. The reason that I put it was I enjoyed playing basketball, but it does not mean I know everything about the sport. But before the interview, I read about it. I read about different tournaments, I read about different teams, I read about the major players in the sport, and I collected all the theoretical knowledge as well. And apart from that, similarly for cricket, most of the interviews will have good knowledge about cricket. You can expect that, at least in India. And that's why I was well prepared for, again, all the major tournaments, or all the major matches that have happened recently, the different records and different GK related to cricket as well. Similarly for books, I was very well prepared for at least 5-6 books from a similar genre, and I was expecting those questions. That's why I put out those particular hobbies that I was well prepared for. And one more thing, if you have noticed, I never talked about chemical engineering in my additional details section. I just touched upon it in basic details, but I never mentioned anything more about it. I did not talk about my final year project or anything of that sort. The reason was I did not want the interviewer to come back on my undergraduation subjects, and I was not comfortable answering questions there. And that's why I completely avoided it. Similarly, अगर आप भी अपना tell me about yourself answer या introduction prepare कर रहे हो, the way that you should go about is, step 1, आप अपना एक CV बनाओ, एक detailed CV बनाओ, उसमें सब कुछ लिख दो जो भी आपने किया है, your extracurricular, your work experience, whatever you have done in your work, your educational qualifications, and छोटे से छोटा achievement वहाँ पर लिख दो. And then frame your answer, then frame your introduction and talk about the major achievements, and also be very honest with yourself. What are the topics that you're comfortable to speak about in the interview? ऐसे कोई achievements हो सकते हैं which probably you did a while before and you do not remember things exactly, but you want to talk about it. So उसको definitely include करो अपने answer में, but read about it. Now that you have time to prepare for the interviews, read about that in such minute details that you feel comfortable answering questions on that topic. So यही होना चाहिए आपका फ्रेमवर्क कि स्टेप 1 आप अपना CV बना लो, उसके बाद वहां से डिटेल निकाल लो छोटे छोटे अचीवमेंट्स की कि आपको क्या बताना है. टेल मी अबाउट योरसेल्फ आंसर. इफ यू आर ऑलरेडी कॉन्फिडेंट अबाउट इट, देन इट्स कंप्लीटली फाइन. इफ यू आर नॉट कॉन्फिडेंट अबाउट दैट, prepare for that particular topic. And now last thing I want to cover is what not to include in your introduction or tell me about yourself answer. And this is very important for MBA aspirants, because a lot of them go through coaching, and some of the coaching I have seen prepare a kind of an answer for them which looks very fancy, but it absolutely does not work. Especially I'll tell, there was someone, I've talked about it in one of my previous videos as well. I had read one of the answers where the candidate was introducing himself with born and brought up in such kind of an environment. I have developed a demeanor that reflects originality, or whatever it was, and it was a very fancy kind of an answer. See, the interviewer first will be easily able to make out that you have prepared it before, and there's no harm in that, in like making him believe that yes, you have prepared it before. It's completely fine. But the idea is that interview will go on for 25, 30, 40 minutes. You can prepare for a 2-minute answer, but can you carry that personality all through the interview? If you think you will be able to, then possibly, okay, go ahead with that. But if you think that that's not your true personality, do not try to do anything fancy. This tell me about yourself is not going to become a reason of your selection, but it can definitely become a reason for your rejection. So do not do anything fancy here. If your personality says that you should be a simple person, then just go ahead with the answer that I have said, and just put your points and just try to reflect it very simply. No need to go for anything fancy. see, and that will be enough for your tell me about yourself answer or introduction in any MBA or job interview. And second point is, in your introduction, do not elaborate on everything that you have done or every project that you have worked on. For an MBA interview, 2-minute introduction is good enough, and for any job interview, 3-minute is more than enough. And the reason for that is you want to throw open certain points for the interviewer to question you on. You do not want to speak about everything and after 5 minutes, 6 minutes, you are giving your introduction only, which kind of takes away some of the important points that you have mentioned from your answer as well, because no one is going to remember your 5-minute, 6-minute answer. So keep it restricted, throw open the points that you want to talk about, and that is more than enough. So this is how you should typically introduce yourself. If you have any question left, you can comment down below, and also let me know what are the other questions I should cover before your MBA interviews. So this is it for this one. See you in the next video.